Jay-Z.
Yes.
You who say you rose from the gutter, but you have traded and bartered the souls of young men, and you're still doing it.
Being isolated for 23 hours a day is a guaranteed path to paranoia, obsessive thoughts, and morbid anxiety. And if the regular citizens can't stomach it, the rappers who are used to a life of glamour stand no chance. From the depths of the Los Angeles County Jail, popular rapper Tory Lanez sends this eerie and disturbing message. Tory's sad message. Daystar Peterson, popularly known as Canadian rapper Tory Lanez, is going through a very tough time. From the day he was convicted of his criminal charges on December 23, 2022, right until the time of his sentencing in August, he has reportedly been having it rough in his Los Angeles County Jail. Calling it rough might be quite the understatement. His 8-month-long hardship and ill fortunes in jail made him send a very disturbing, shocking, and sad message to the court via attorney Rhonda Dixon. But in a twisted series of events, we soon realized that this attorney was not even his attorney to begin with. So how did this come about? Now, Tory Lanez already had an attorney called Matthew Barhoma and a lead lawyer called Jose Baez. So why didn't Tory Lanez get his heartbreaking message through one of his legal counsels? How did Rhonda Dixon get into the mix? Rhonda Dixon is a licensed California attorney since 1988, and she owns the Dixon Justice Center in Los Angeles. She stated that a client of hers who is housed on the same jail tier as Tory Lanez asked her to meet with the popular Canadian star because he wanted to explain what was going on with the sentencing. She filed a motion to get Tory Lanez out of jail, and she said he was depressed when she met him in jail. This is what she had to say when she laid eyes on him. His eyes were black. He was totally despondent. He told me he wanted to go to state prison. I said, "You want to go to state prison? Why?" He said, "At least I'll be able to go out in the yard and talk to people." Dixon later added, "That upset me. I don't think he's guilty." Dixon's motion also notes, merely because he is well known, the sheriff has decided that Mr. Peterson is of such great threat that he must be confined in the same manner as those convicted of serial rape charges and murder. She further went on to accuse Tory Lanez's lead lawyer and attorney. She said Baez and Barhoma were taking advantage of him, and she said Barhoma charged him $90,000 for a particular document, but Lanez has only paid $40,000 so far, and Barhoma hadn't sent all case documents because of the debt. This accusation was swiftly denied by the two men. Lead lawyer Baez also stated he was not aware of Dixon's motion to release Lanez from jail until after she filed it. When he became aware of the motion, he still did not endorse it. He didn't state reasons for not endorsing it, but we can believe that it's because the argument that solitary confinement is cruel and unusual punishment is not new, and the broad body of CASA law doesn't favor Dixon's argument that Lanez should be released. To put it plainly, even though solitary confinement extracts quite a heavy toll on the mind and body, it is well within the law. In 1995, the U.S. Court of Appeals ruled that administrative segregation, even in a single cell for 23 hours a day, is within the terms of confinement ordinarily contemplated by a sentence. Just a few months earlier in April, the U.S. Supreme Court denied a petition from a prisoner who argued his 27 years in solitary confinement violated the Eighth Amendment's prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment. Rhonda Renee Dixon hoped to replace attorney Matthew Barhoma, but Lanez's lead lawyer, Jose Baez, said he's instead hiring longtime criminal defense attorney Thomas Edward Wellborn. The judge then called down Tory Lanez himself to the court to ask him if that's what he wants. "Yes, sir," said Tory Lanez, while wearing his usual orange jail dressing, white long-sleeve shirt, and black cap at the defense table. The judge further asked Tory Lanez to confirm he's not asking Dixon to join his case. "Yes, Your Honor," Tory Lanez said. It's quite a head-scratcher as to why the popular rapper didn't want Dixon to join his case, even after allegedly wanting to talk to her about the gruesome conditions he was going through. Maybe he had just simply had enough of the whole legal proceedings and wanted to just move on. Regarding Lanez's current demeanor, he appeared a bit downcast when he was in court previously on June 13th. At that point, he had spent a whopping 6 months confined in the Los Angeles County Jail, so surely it would not be unusual for anyone to be downcast in that situation. It is pretty much known that the Los Angeles Central Jail is a notorious hellhole, and basically anyone there wants to get transferred to state prison as soon as they can. Lanez addressed his dejected condition 1 week later in a June 19th Instagram post that said he wants his friends, family, and fans to know, "I haven't lost my faith in God and that I'm in high spirits. I'm praying for the best and remain confident that God will bring me through this. I have spent the last 7 months rehabilitating my mind, my body, and my soul." The post continued with, "Though I came to jail a good person, I will leave as a great person. I've turned this jail cell into my work office. But that was 2 whole months ago. A lot can change in 2 months." His eyes being described as as black and dejected doesn't correlate with his Instagram message of him rehabilitating his mind, body, and soul, coupled with his recent conversation stating that he wants to go to state prison where he can at least make human contact. This sad and disturbing message is not indicative of a man in high spirits. It shows the heavy toll being exerted on his current headspace. But these complaints of the brutal nature of solitary confinement are not new in the world of celebrity rappers. Rappers going from a life of glamour to a world of confinement is a mean reality check, and many of them simply can't stomach the idea of being indoors for 23 hours a month. This has often led rappers on trial to request bonds, cut plea deals, or snitch on their fellow defendants. Young Thug, the popular Atlanta rapper, has been in the news after he was charged with conspiracy to violate the racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations, better known as the RICO Act. Other charges include participating in criminal street gang activity, as well as possession of marijuana with the intention to distribute, possession of codeine with the intention to distribute, possession of cocaine, possession of a machine gun, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Young Thug was arrested on May 9th in Atlanta and was taken to the Fulton County Jail. That same month, his lawyer, Brian Steele, filed an emergency motion requesting bond and blasted the cruel and sadistic jail conditions his client was going through. He cited that his client had been held up in total isolation in a windowless cement compartment with only a toilet, a bed, and an overhead light source which remains lit 24 hours a day, effectively preventing rest, meditation, or sleep. His lawyer also claims he neither has access to social media, the internet, or television, nor does he have any freedom to exercise or have contact with other humans. This is why Young Thug and his lawyer have requested bond multiple times, all of which have been denied. Fellow YSL rapper Gunna, who was also charged with racketeering conspiracy, took to Instagram to complain about the hellish conditions of confinement. He shared an open letter to his 4.4 million followers. He wrote in the caption, 22 and 2, just a bed and a shower, no windows, just walls, can't see or talk to anyone. As Gunna could not take these conditions anymore, he took the Alford plea deal. This is a deal that allows him to plead guilty if it's in his interest while also maintaining his innocence. His 5-year sentence was then scaled down to time served and 500 hours of community service as part of the deal. Another rapper with numerous complaints about the system is Jamel Maurice Demons, known professionally as YNW Melly. On February 12, 2019, Melly was charged with 2 counts of premeditated murder after he was tied to the October 2018 shooting of 2 of his close friends, YNW Sack Chaser and YNW Juvie. He has been locked up since then and has been subjected to threats and abuse by the prison staff. He has spoken out about the poor treatment he's received while incarcerated on Instagram. He posted the following: "As of this moment today, I am officially in fear of my life. A new captain named Hubert and XO Jenkins have taken over the jail for 2 weeks now and have handed out even harsher punishments for me than the previous ones in place. Since December 1st, I have been moved and housed on a unit that holds 24 inmates at once. I'm the only inmate being housed on the vacant unit with no phone privilege, no television, and no access to a newspaper. They are watching my every move on camera, making sure I don't use the phone to tell the world how I'm being mistreated, discriminated, threatened physically, harassed. When I come out of my cell for the 1 hour a day, all other inmates in the adjoining dorms must go back in their cell. I'm being subjected to cruel and unusual treatment at the hands of deputies and high-ranking staff of the Broward Sheriff's Office." He continued, "I have been threatened by deputies, lieutenants, and sergeants that say they will hide me from the world and threaten to beat my ass every day, and if I tell my lawyers, they will lie and say I hit them first." Words from Sergeant Anthony Kidd and Lieutenant Jean Baptiste. "I have literally been hidden from the world, so I have no other choice but to believe the next step is them beating half to death like they do to other inmates almost daily here at the main ale in Broward County." In a follow-up post, YNW Melly gave details about how his phone privileges have been revoked and explained that he's not even allowed to contact friends and family members for the holidays. "I can't call my family or lawyers to notify them if I have been beaten or harassed," he captioned the second post. "They say my phone privileges are taken permanently because of all of the infractions over the last 7 months. That is a lie. They took my phone privileges indefinitely off of my one violation for using another inmate's PIN to talk on the phone when I am not allowed to use the phone. This experience paints a total nightmare scenario for rappers who are being subjected to solitary confinement. It's one of the most dehumanizing places on the planet. You are stuck in your cell with just the voices in your own head. The consequences can be devastating, and it's no wonder why Tory Lanez stated clearly that he wants to be moved to state prison. But a state prison is really not any better. In fact, it is categorically worse because you're not shielded or protected from other inmates. These inmates come from different backgrounds and can pose a very serious threat to a popular celebrity like Tory Lanez. Why a state prison ain't safe. If the ordeals of other rappers in the past is anything to go by, then Tory Lanez is going to have the worst time if he remains in a state prison. What is a state prison? And how do they differ from other prisons such as the federal prison? A federal prison is operated by the federal government and houses inmates convicted of breaking federal laws. Federal prisons are generally safer than state prisons, and they keep inmates that are of a less violent and dangerous nature. Such examples of federal crimes include certain sexual offenses, including child drug dealing and trafficking, and specific white-collar crimes including money laundering, illegal insider trading, and identity theft, racketeering, and immigration crimes. Now, federal prisons are also considered safer than state prisons, as they are organized along 5 different levels of the security system. The different levels of security in federal prisons include minimum security, low security, medium security, high security, and administrative security. In contrast, state prisons are state correctional facilities operated by state governments and house people convicted of breaking state laws. State prisons typically house more violent criminals or people who have committed more violent crimes. So to hear Tory Lanez admit that he wants to be transferred here suggested the type of mental torture he must have gone through while in solitary confinement. He is basically willing to trade his safety for the chance to have human contact with other people. A few crimes that will lead to a prison term with state authorities include murder, rape, mayhem, and bank robbery. While federal prisons have 5 levels of security, state prisons usually only have 3: minimum security prisons, medium, and maximum security. In essence, state prisons have lower security than federal prisons, as well as being less safe, having a greater number of inmates, and possessing more violent and dangerous offenders. With more violent inmates in state prisons, this only leads to a more violent environment for everyone. Prison violence is a regular occurrence due to the diversity of inmates with varied criminal backgrounds. The 3 different types of attacks are inmate on inmate, inmate on guard, and vice versa, as well as self-inflicted. These attacks can either be impulsive and spontaneous or well planned out and premeditated. A lot of factors contribute to the unsafety of state prisons, such as gang rivalries, overcrowding, minor disputes, and prison designs. Apart from the regular violence, there are specific groups in state prisons that are particularly targeted. This targeted demographic includes popular celebrities, inmates with youthful looks, sex offenders, inmates who have left prison gangs, inmates who have drug or gambling debts, inmates who are former law enforcement or correctional officers. The particular demographic we are focused on is the popular celebrities. Over the years, certain celebrities have met their demise in state correctional facilities, while certain others barely escape death by the skin of their own teeth. The first incident is the death of the rapper Money Sign Suede. Just recently, on the 25th of April, 2023, well-known rapper Money Sign Suede was found dead at the correctional training facility in Soledad, confirmed by the officials with the Monterey County Coroner's Office and the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. At about 9:55 p.m. on the 25th of April, the prison officers at Soledad were dumbfounded by what they saw. During a standardized prison count, it was soon found out that Jamie Brugada, professionally known as Money Sign Suede, could not be found in his cell. Now, not only was an inmate missing during the scheduled count, but it was a celebrity inmate. The prison guards responded immediately and went on the search for Money Sign Suede. During a search, he was found unresponsive in the shower. His body was discovered with signs of a knife wound to his neck, and this was also confirmed by his attorney, Nicholas Rosenberg. Around midnight on Tuesday, the prison officers called Nicholas Rosenberg to inform him of the death of his client. They said it was a stabbing to the neck, Rosenberg said. They said they're investigating. The emergency team quickly initiated life-saving and resuscitative measures. They summoned rapid emergency services to transport Money Sign Suede to an on-site medical facility for immediate treatment, where he was pronounced dead. Angela Diaz, a secretary with the Coroner's Division of the Monterey County Sheriff's Office, confirmed that he died around 10:20 p.m. at the state prison. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, or the CDCR, has confirmed an investigation is being conducted by the prison's Investigative Services Unit, as well as the Monterey County District Attorney's Office. The prison facility, where Money Sign Suede was incarcerated, has more than 4,000 minimum and medium security inmates, according to the CDCR, and movements in the prison have been restricted to facilitate the investigation. In this entire unfortunate incident, people wondered why a fairly popular celebrity rapper shared a housing unit with the general prison population. This strange decision also perplexed one of the inmates. The inmate, who asked to remain unidentified for fear of getting stabbed with a knife himself, said the rest of the unit began hearing the news very early the next morning when officials placed part of the prison in a lockdown and delayed serving them breakfast. The inmate also said the killing happened in a part of the prison that houses general population inmates. He questioned why a popular rapper was not housed in a sensitive needs yard, which is designed to protect those with specific safety concerns. This sensitive needs yard is a designated environment for incarcerated people who have safety anxiety regarding living in a general population yard. Now, more specifically, they are cell blocks, common areas, and outdoor recreation yards set aside for male prisoners who would likely be harmed if they were in the general population with other prisoners. It's certainly obvious that if Tory Lanez was sent to a facility like this, he'd need to be placed in a unit that is similar to the sensitive needs yard to avoid a fate similar to Money Sign Suede. The next set of people who got roped into the prison violence were members of rap groups, the YSL and YFN. Both groups are headed by Young Thug and YFN Lucci, respectively. Both men are successful Atlanta rappers and have had an ongoing beef since 2017. Their public back and forth has mostly taken place on social media, most especially Instagram, with the two exchanging deprecating remarks on live videos and posts. The beef started back in 2017 when Young Thug tweeted, "I dropped EBBTG on Tupac's SB Day because I'm the #new pack. I feel like I'm the thug he didn't get to become." The acronym he mentions refers to his 2017 EP titled Easy Breezy Beautiful Thugger Girls, or Beautiful Thugger Girls for short. YFN Lucci took issue with the rapper dropping Tupac's name, and the war of words became heated from there. After Thug's Tupac comments, YFN Lucci responded, "Pac would have never worn a dress," followed by a clown emoji. Lucci is referring to when Young Thug appeared on the front cover of his 2016 mixtape in a dress designed by Italian designer Alessandro Trincone. As the years went by, both constantly threatened each other with violence, with Young Thug stating he was going to slap him, and another time stating that he was going to put him into a deep sleep. Now in 2023, their online squabble has manifested in a real-life prison brawl among their groups. Young Thug's YSL and YFN Lucci's crew were seen battling each other inside the Fulton County Jail. A video of their fight went viral on the 11th of April, where someone from YFN's side was seen fighting a member of the YSL group. The YSL member was being hit repeatedly and was heard screaming in pain and agony. Towards the end of the video, a YFN member seemed to be using a razor to peel off his crew tattoo. No further information has been disclosed concerning the violence between the two groups. Another rapper caught in prison violence is Brooklyn rapper Casanova. In 2020, he was indicted on RICO charges alongside 17 others due to various criminal activities in which his Bloods gang Untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation allegedly took part. The FBI apprehended 17 of the gang members, but Casanova was not detained initially, and an arrest warrant was issued for him. On December 2nd, 2020, Casanova surrendered to federal authorities. The charges against Casanova include conspiracy to commit racketeering, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, and possession of a firearm in furtherance of a drug trafficking crime. From when he was arrested in 2020 right up to when he was sentenced in June 2023, Casanova was held behind bars, and that was where he got his bloody beatdown. Casanova was allegedly assaulted in a bloody prison altercation that took place at Essex County Correctional Facility in Newark, New Jersey. The Brooklyn rapper was slashed in the face with an unknown weapon by another inmate called Ulysses Lugo on June 15th. This resulted in Casanova and a group of other inmates reportedly chasing down Lugo and returning the favor, cutting Lugo several times in the face. When officers responded to the scene, both Lugo and Casanova were covered in blood. The reason for the brutal assault is still under investigation, and just 12 days after the ordeal, he was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months in prison. Getting stabbed in the shower, using a razor to peel off one's tattoo, or getting slashed across the face are just one of the few deranged acts of violence that go on in state prisons. But before Tory Lanez is taken to one of these state prisons, let's take a close look at what he did and the legal proceedings that led him down this path. The crime.
Wicked system of Rock Nation, including you, Jay-Z.
Yes.
You who say you rose from the gutter, but you have traded and bartered the souls of young men, and you're still doing it.
The man in this video is Sunstar Peterson, the father of the defendant Daystar Peterson, aka Tory Lanez. This dramatic outburst took place at a very pivotal moment in the trial of Tory Lanez. Just a few minutes before Tory Lanez's father started to go berserk on Jay-Z and Rock Nation, Tory Lanez was convicted in a jury trial on 3 felony charges with respect to the shooting: assault with a semi-automatic handgun, having a loaded and unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and gross negligence in discharging his firearm. This conviction took place 2 whole years after the incident. Let's revisit the key things that happened on that fateful day between Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion. According to an Instagram Live, Megan claimed that she was in Tory Lanez's car on the 12th of July, 2020, with him, his bodyguard, and her friend, and that all 4 of them were arguing. The 4 of them were apparently leaving a house party, and the argument eventually got out of control. Megan, who was seated in the front seat, left the car. Then she alleged that Lanez shot her through the car's back window. The injury was initially reported to have been a foot wound caused by glass. She later changed the story. story, stating she underwent surgery after suffering gunshot wounds, which she states were a result of a crime that was committed against her and done with the intention to physically harm her. At the time, she did not state who shot her, but later stated that she was shot by Tory Lanez during this incident. Lanez was arrested in the Hollywood Hills and charged with carrying a concealed weapon in his vehicle. During the arrest, Megan admitted she did not tell the cops what had happened, as she told them that she had cut her foot on glass. She explained her reason for not being upfront with the cops about the exact details. She thought the LAPD would be aggressive. In her video, she said, "I didn't get cut by no glass, but let me tell you why they're saying that. When the police came because the neighbors called the police come, I'm scared. All this shit going on with the police, I didn't want to die. I didn't want the police to shoot me because there's a with a gun in the car with me." She had a point though, because this incident happened just 2 months after the whole George Floyd saga, so there was still fear in the air concerning police brutality. She also voiced her opinions against his PR team, saying, "You shot me, and you got your publicist and your people going to these blogs lying and stop lying. Why lie?" Megan also vehemently insisted that rumors she had hit Tory Lanez first were completely made up and fake. What came next between the two parties was a series of smear campaigns across social media and as well as on music tracks. On the 25th of September, 2020, Lanez released his 5th studio album, Daystar, in which he addresses the shooting on almost every song and denies that he shot Megan, while also claiming she and her team were trying to frame him. On the song Money Over Fallouts, he raps, "How you get shot in your foot, don't hit no bones or tendons." On the same song, he also raps, "Girl, you had the nerve to write that statement on that affidavit, knowing I ain't do it, but I'm coming at my truest." Lanez also mentioned singers Kalani and JoJo on the album. Both women removed his features from their songs for the deluxe versions of their respective albums following Megan's Instagram Live. That same day, Megan and her team hit back. In a statement to Variety, Megan's attorney, Alex Spiro, claimed Tory Lanez representatives had attempted to launch a smear campaign against Megan to discredit her allegations. Spiro stated, "We have been made aware of manipulated text messages and invented email accounts that have been disseminated to the media in a calculated attempt to peddle a false narrative about the events that occurred." Lanez's team denied this, saying that they would investigate who was behind the fake emails and will take appropriate action. On September 29, 2020, following negative responses to Lanez from certain publications, the rapper claimed on Instagram that news sites had launched a smear campaign against him, stating that he has never seen verified publications come together with biased opinions for a smear campaign on an artist, and he wonders who is paying them. In October 2020, Lanez was officially charged with felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, personal use of a firearm, and carrying a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle. He also faced an allegation that he personally inflicted great bodily injury with a gun. A protective order has since been issued against Lanez, which states that he is to stay at least 100 yards away from Megan and not contact her. He was also ordered to surrender any guns he owns. In an opinion piece for the New York Times, Megan went ahead to address the shooting further. "Black women are still constantly disrespected and disregarded in so many areas of life. I was recently the victim of an act of violence by a man. After a party, I was shot twice as I walked away from him. We were not in a relationship. Truthfully, I was shocked that I ended up in that place." To date, it still appears to be unclear why Lanez allegedly shot Megan. Megan claimed in the video, however, that Lanez did it for no reason. Back in 2020, it was thought that if Lanez was convicted as charged, he could get up to 22 years and 8 months in state prison. On November 18, 2020, Lanez pleaded not guilty to 3 charges brought against him by the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office. Lanez entered a not guilty plea through his attorney on November 18, 2020, to charges relating to the shooting, and his bail was set at $190,000. Lanez hinted at the charges on Twitter, posting an emoji message claiming, "Time will tell." He also tweeted, "A charge is not a conviction. If you have supported me or Meg through this, I genuinely appreciate you." During the preliminary hearing on December 14, 2021, there were recent developments indicating the progression of the case. Prosecutors summoned a police officer and a detective to testify about the evidence they had gathered during the investigation. The attorney for Lanez, Sean Hawley, asked for the case to be thrown out due to insufficient evidence. The judge denied his request. LAPD Detective Ryan Stogner testified in court, confirming details from Megan's account of the event to the police. The detective was told that Lanez shouted, "Dance, bitch, dance," as he fired the gunshots at Megan's feet, injuring her so that she fell to the ground and then crawled to safety. Megan informed the detective during the investigation that a drunk Lanez tried to bribe bribe her to keep her mouth shut because he was on probation. Stogner also testified that Megan lied about the shooting at first, saying she stepped on glass because she was afraid of police violently escalating the situation if they were called on Lanez, a black man with a gun in his car. During the hearing, the judge also played a phone call from Lanez in jail to the woman, Megan's friend, who was there during the incident, apologizing for something he did while drunk. After hearing the phone call, Tory Lanez reportedly yelled in court saying, "How you gonna tell me what I apologized for?" A judge was scheduled to sentence Lanez on June 13th, a little less than 6 months after the rapper was convicted and found guilty of all 3 charges in the 2020 shooting of Megan Thee Stallion, according to the petition reviewed by Vulture. Ahead of his sentencing, Lanez attempted to get the presiding judge, David Hereford, thrown out of the case, arguing that the judge should recuse or disqualify himself from the case because of his bias. Lanez's legal team argued that the judge demonstrated partiality in 3 ways during a hearing last month, including telling the rapper's lawyers to present their information in the judge's specific preferred order, interrupting the team when they were making their arguments, and not allowing them to call witnesses for live testimony. Lanez's request to disqualify the judge was rejected, and the judge decided to grant Lanez a continuance on June 13th, postponing his sentence until August 7th. Prosecutors argue Lanez should serve 13 years in prison for the assault. A sentencing memorandum filed on June 6th recommends the sentence, citing Lanez's smear campaign and his presence being a danger to public safety. The memorandum read, "Words have power, and the pen is oftentimes mightier than the sword," and in this case, Daystar Peterson used both. The prosecution argued that Tory Lanez used his online influence and status to stiffen the resolve of his followers and re-traumatize Megan. The memo went on to reference the shooting itself, stating that the defendant brazenly fired 5 rounds, emptying his gun at a vulnerable victim. While giving his final words at the hearing, Lanez described Megan Thee Stallion as a friend he still cares for dearly, mentioning that they had bonded over the loss of their mothers. Megan herself was not present at the hearing, though a statement from her was read into the record. For once, the defendant must be forced to face the full consequences of his heinous actions and face justice, the statement said. Almost 3 years after the initial incident, it was finally time for the verdict. Judge David Hereford sentenced Tory Lanez to 10 years in prison.